Silence your phone.
But you know, I don't know. Okay. I will call our regular meeting of the Fairfax Rec and Park District Board of Directors to order, and we will have a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Chair Irwin.
Here.
Vice Chair Mouse.
Here.
Director Carhart.
Here.
Director O'Farrell.
Here.
Director Tamani. Here. All present.
Wonderful. I don't think we have any PPRs today.
No,
That's great.
we're maybe going to have one, but we were not.
Okay, wonderful. Then I will move on to audience public comments. Time for anyone in the audience who wishes to speak on a non-agenda item, either online or in person, to speak now. You have 3 minutes. You can address the board. Do we have anybody who wishes to speak on a non-agenda item? Online? No. In person? No. Okay, we'll close public comment. And then do I have a motion to approve the agenda? Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Wonderful. Going on with the consent calendar. Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion on the consent calendar? No? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Wonderful. Moving on to 8.1, FOIAB report.
We do not have one of those this evening. I forgot school was out, and so we'll just skip that one.
Okay, moving right along. 8.2, discussion of possible action on bike park outreach.
Yeah, board of directors. There's no staff report for this, and what I would be looking for here is just direction. So it's not even a board action. It's just making certain that whatever we are doing is in line with what you would all like to do with that. And I believe maybe Eric wants to address that a little bit on some of this process. Him and I have met. I believe it was last week. We talked about a possible master plan and the process for Phoenix Park. And if you want to, is that all right, Chair?
Does anybody want a little bit more background?
You want my background?
I have a question. Is this based on the plan that Garrett showed last time, and this would be going public with that in like a workshop scene?
Let me give you a little background then prior to this, if that's all right. There are a couple of things I believe need to happen here for us. One is we need a master plan for La Vista. And the reason we need a master plan for La Vista is because for us to be able to fund that project, I believe we're going to have to use some federal funds to completely fund it. And those would be the girls' softball fields over there. The Land and Water Conservation Fund is the best option that I can identify for those fields that will give us enough money to do that. There are restrictions with land and water conservation funds, and that is one of the major restrictions is you cannot have a building built on the site that is funded with land and water conservation money. Now, if a building is in existence, you're okay, but if you cannot build a new building. For La Vista, we're looking at softball fields, and it's already been a ball fields and that stuff. There's a concession stand bathroom already there. You can build a bathroom, so you're okay to do that. And if we were to get the buildings, which we've discussed briefly, and the possibility may exist later, they're already in existence, so we don't have to worry about that restriction. But one of the other restrictions are you have to have a master plan for that site. And so I would be proposing that we do a master plan for La Vista. While we're doing that one, I would propose that we do one for Phoenix Park. And a couple of reasons for Phoenix Park doing a master plan. One, is the bike park, of course, and we want to make certain that the bike park has a say and a part of Phoenix Park. I believe we all would agree with that, and I believe the community would agree with that, that a bike park, some type of bike park in Phoenix is very desirable and needed even, if we will. And just as much as softball or baseball is over there, or soccer. So a proponent of that is needed. How much of that is going to be bike park? Don't know. I don't have any idea. We just got a request from Little League to put a new backstop in. They got a backstop donated, and they asked us if they could put it in and build a new field. And we said, let's hold on that until I get some direction from the board about a master plan. You know, do we need more ball fields? Do we need more bike park? Do we need, let's just look at the VFW and Inholding. You know, that's a piece right there. The vacant land that potentially could be something, a bike park, it could be open space, whatever. Our parking issue over there, our road system over there. There's a lot of road in there that doesn't flow very well. So all of that is part of a master plan. So I believe what I'd like to propose is that we do a full-scale master plan for that park and La Vista, and we combine them for economy of scale. And that would be sometime around August, September. We would probably go out to an RFP or an RFQ for a master planning firm to allow us to do that. Then we would take that master plan from those two facilities and fold it into our district-wide master plan. Challenge with our district-wide master plan, it's a 10-year plan, and it was done in 2010. So we need to do a new district-wide one too. From a staff point of view, we don't have the bandwidth to start a full-scale master plan, but we do have the bandwidth to be able to do a master plan for La Vista and for Phoenix. It's not quite as intense as a large-scale master plan for the overall district. So that's my kind of spiel on it, and I met with Garrett, shared those same things with him, and asked him if he would be interested in doing the outreach portion for the bike park portion of it, and that would then be folded in to the Phoenix Park overall master plan. And there'd still be an outreach in the Phoenix Park overall master plan to the public, because you'd want to invite softball, baseball, soccer, neighbors, you know, the whole thing, do the whole thing right, dog park people, VFW, you know, basically everybody into that to try and get the consensus of what this park could and should be.
And I gotta say, as a landscape architect, I can't see doing anything in a facility without an overall plan. I've long been an advocate. Also, it needs to be a plan done with an economical time frame and cost, you know. And it needs to get to the heart of what we intend those facilities to look like ultimately.
And I should probably explain too, the La Vista is the driving portion of, you know, the possibility of a master plan, for at least from my point of view. And those funds will become available or the application process will start in about 18 months again. So it's already, this cycle's already done. So we aren't ready for that. Plus, we didn't have a property at that point. We couldn't do anything. So
Is there any
It
other
makes
questions?
sense to do what we have at our doorstep and look at the big district-wide plan when we can, but what we have on the doorstep we need to deal with, and we need to make sure we put it in the right place.
Thank you.
I agree. The 2010 master plan, we spent a lot of time, a lot of money on that, and we didn't do anything.
yeah, I just reviewed it today, actually.
Well,
Yeah.
no, what I'm saying is that I'm with Ralph. I support a master plan for Phoenix, and I support a master plan for the softball complex. And we know where we are going generally with, you know, Measure J funding. We have a capital improvement plan that we've already adopted, and, you know, so if we put a master plan off for 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years, when things settle down,
Yeah.
then I understand the need for it, as long as we pursue it. One of the problems that we had in 2010 was that all of a sudden, we're in the middle of this big recession, you know, we got backhanded like everybody else did, so we had no money. I mean, I'm pleasantly surprised to see that our property taxes are almost 6%. That is unheard of. We haven't seen that for 20 years. So all we need to do now is get the revenue from all of our facilities and all of our programs up, and we're good to go.
Do we have, so we don't have any plan, like larger plan specifically for Phoenix?
We don't have a systematic plan, no. You know, we've got the back of the napkin, you know, plan, if you will.
Wasn't there an original when we acquired the property? I vaguely recall a plan, but it's so out of date. It was before we built the dog park and the community gardens and all of that. It would have been like around 2000.
Yeah, I haven't seen one, but that doesn't mean there's not
I
one.
just vaguely recall, but.
I can look
it's-
into it. But it would be
We've
obviously
added
outdated.
so much since then, and changed so much, and we've got so much that we're thinking of. We need to know
You're right.
what the right place for every facility is.
And then any master plan we would do with that, we would, that's part of the overall master plan, is to dig back on the past plans and incorporate what's still relevant into them, and then build upon it from there.
Trish, to amend?
So I didn't participate in the 2010 master plan process, but I was wondering, how long does that process usually take? So when you said RFP in August or September, I mean, I don't want this project to now be, 5 years down the road.
No, a site-specific master plan is a lot less intense.
Okay.
Yeah, you're probably talking 4 or 5 months of labor around
And
that.
can we incorporate like the renderings that we
Yes.
did a rendering
We
of
did, yeah.
Phoenix when we were thinking about using the softball fields, and I feel like a lot of that could still be utilized.
Right, and that's why I think also with the bike park stuff, if there's something done prior to us starting, it can be incorporated in if it's in the relevancy of that plan. Just like the drawings that we've done at this point. If that's, right now the only drawings we have for Phoenix that we did with Measure J was to put the ball fields on there. Well, obviously we spun over to La Vista, and now we have nothing there for that. So, other than the parking.
It'd be fair to say it would be a master plan similar to what we did for village parks before we started.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And not quite as big.
Sure.
That was like $26 million of work.
Well, then I think why don't we let Mr. McDermott.
Really have much to say. I mean, you know where I stand. As I said, I'm here to do whatever I can to, do what's best for the community, and my firm belief is putting in a bigger bike park is what's best. Community will benefit for it the most, and, we're ready to raise money and do whatever we can, write grants to make it happen. So, the sooner we get that approved, the sooner we can go out and start trying to raise that money for the bike park. So, speaking with Mike and just adding on to what he was saying, that the, public outreach is necessary in his belief, so I'm, totally willing to help in whatever capacity I can to do the public outreach, and then if the master plan comes through and we get more of a professional design done for the bike park and the whole area there, it would be great to use that to build on.
I don't think there's any disagreement from us on that. I mean, I think I'm very in support of you helping with the outreach, getting bike park, folding that in. I mean, I definitely would love to see that part of the larger plan for Phoenix. So I don't think there's really anything from us specifically. Is there any other?
Just a little clarity, I just want to make certain that we're all on the same page here. In terms of a firm that would do the master plan, they generally incorporate outreach into that as a community as a whole. So I want to make certain that I'm hearing from the board that that's part of the RFP or RFQ, that we would include an outreach component for the firm that would do the master plan.
I think you have to, don't you?
For
Really, it would be
Yeah.
foolish to do a master plan without public input. So I'm just trying to figure out where the outreach for the bike park would fit into that. I mean, what if the public outreach on the overall master plan says we don't need a bike park? So we need to clarify how that would integrate.
when we
Well,
do
that'll
that,
come back to us at that point. That'd be a discussion with us. I mean, if we have the bike park community, they've gone out, done outreach, and they're finding from their outreach that a large community does want bike park. And then we're seeing that the overall from this saying otherwise, well, then that's a discussion that we need to take from there.
Yeah.
And if anything, I kind of like the check and balance on that, quite frankly.
But that's predicated that they, in their outreach, go to the whole community and make it.
Well, that was my assumption that that's what they would be doing, correct?
Yeah, well,
It's
no
going out,
problem.
yeah.
Cover the neighborhood with flyers and handouts and
Yeah.
social media. And the other thing to add to that too, as far as something Mike and I discussed, if you go to the public outreach and everybody decides, they all want a master art display, but nobody's there to fund it, then we can't afford that, right? So if, we're trying to say we want this, we're willing to help fund it, and so hopefully the public understands that. If they want something, water pad, that they're willing to organize to fund it, I think would be incorporated into that outreach.
Other elements like water pads and things I would see in the bigger outreach that we do. What I'm concerned about is that your outreach on the bike park is more than just the neighborhood, that you outreach to the whole district, you know?
Yeah, that's great, and you bring up a good point that if, for example, splash pad's a good example, that component, if it is a component of the park, and it makes it into the master plan, if you will, that outreach is done by the firm that would be doing the overall master plan. Ultimately, the master plan is approved by the board. We can talk about check and balances. It is that draft form that is approved by the board. If there's something there like road improvements, for an example, and we have a plan that says here's how the traffic flow will work, we're not doing that traffic flow in the next 4 years.
Thank you.
You know, it may be 10 years before we see that traffic flow piece changed. And so we just want to make certain that we're not putting a ball field or, you know, a pickleball court on top of a place where the road would potentially be changing. So that, all this kind of fits in together. It all doesn't happen in 1 year, 2 years, 5 years. Some of it may take up to 10 years, even maybe longer, to make it happen based on finances and things like that. And it may still shift. Pickleball is a good example. 5, 10 years ago, you didn't hear about pickleball. And so it's a new trend. And so it's a new trend going to come in 7 years. It may, and then we have to readjust a little bit. So anyway, that's my long-term vision.
Art, also to answer your question too, hopefully we can incorporate some of the bike park renderings that we've come up with the firm that's chosen to do the master plan and outreach. That would be included with that as well.
I guess I'm trying to make sense of it in my own mind, and I can see also that you may not have to go to the whole community. What you're trying to do is get a consensus on what a bike park would be, and that would then be blended into our master plan, which would then reach out to the whole community and say, do we need a bike park, and where does it fit into the park plan? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, wonderful. So,
So the direction I'm hearing is go ahead,
yeah.
get ready for the
I
RFP.
mean, we've been talking about this now for how long? Over 3 years, 4 years. I think we, as at least me as a board member, feel we need an expanded component of some kind of an improved bike park out of Phoenix Field.
I agree.
Thank you, Gordon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, on to 8.3, discussion possible action on the fiscal year 2022-2023 general
You got
fund.
it.
Oh, did I skip?
Jerry, you got it. There's the one who has a question.
May I ask a question? I don't mean to interrupt, but this is the first time I've ever been to your meeting, so I don't know how it goes, the procedure. But how does one get to talk and make a point, and when do you get that chance? Or,
We have a form that indicates which agenda item you want to speak to.
well, I got about 3 of them.
Yeah.
Are they on the agenda? Are they?
Well, one of them is this bike stuff, yeah, bike related.
Okay, so then that would be what we're on now, but so you know, our meeting starts at 6 o'clock, and then we have public comment that's not regarding an item.
Right.
That's one of the first things, so public comment on non-agenda items is closed, but if you do have a comment on one of our agendized items, you're welcome to speak.
On the bike,
If you wish, yep, that's what's up.
yeah, I
there.
actually would like to speak on stuffing related to bikes, okay.
So just so you know, you have 3 minutes, okay?
Okay, my name is Richard Brebrick. I walk my little Nazi chihuahuas out there every day in Phoenix Field. What I've noticed is I want to commend the Park District for building the bike park for the kids. I do think there's several serious mistakes or semi-serious mistakes associated with that. One is that you shouldn't have put the opening to the bike park right at the entrance to the park. It should have been moved over between the bigger, the teenage one and the little kid one, so that it doesn't clog the entrance to the park. Number 2, I think you should put in shade structures and let's say a picnic table so the mothers and parents have a place to have shade and a water fountain in there so the kids can drink. And the reason for that is to keep the kids in the compound, right? And the mom and dad are there. They're not out riding all over the park. They're in the bike park, which is great. I'm all for that. And if you want to build an adult velodrome where you got that big field of weeds or something like that, for people that want to drive 35, 40 miles an hour, build a velodrome. Do not let these guys come through the park as adults on 10 speeds without walking their bike. You should not be allowing adults to ride in the park because it destroys the safety of the park. What if a little kid runs out onto the concrete? One of these guys is talking to his friend, going 25, 30 miles an hour, he can't correct in time and runs over the kid. You can't have that. Just stupid. And besides, these bikers and their cute little outfits and their $20,000 bikes and they're 60 years old, you're not going to Tour de France. Get a reality check, okay? So what I'm trying to say here is I don't mind if you want to exercise with bikes. You got the bike trail, and they already took that over. And they're not very polite to pedestrians down there. We don't need to take and destroy the parks with adult bikers on them. In fact, I think you should have an like a gate where they have to walk their bikes through it so they can't drive through there. Now, they're welcome to walk their bikes through there, but not ride them. Ride out on the street, not in the park, because you got little dogs, big dogs, kids. I mean, you're just destroying the safety of the park, okay? And I'm telling you, these guys are have a weird mindset. I used to live in Huntington Beach, and they used to drive along the service road in between the parking lot and the beach at 25, 30 miles an hour with little kids and their mom trying to get to the beach. I don't care about their cute little outfits and their Tour de France wet dreams, okay? What I want is safety and some kind of common sense thinking going on here. One group doesn't get to dominate everybody else. You know, we all pay taxes, and bikers are a small percentage. Do you see what I'm saying? So we need to be fair to everybody, and I think this is unfair to let adults ride around that park.
So
Okay.
that's 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Okay, we will move on to 8.3. Staff report on that?
Yes. Okay. So my name is Jennifer Larkin. I'm the Administrative Services Manager here for the district. And this item is our review and adoption of our preliminary budget for next fiscal year, 2022-2023. So I have a presentation, and then we can, if you have any questions or specific items, we can bring up the budget spreadsheets and talk about those. So when we build our budget each year, we have some basic assumptions of things, and we start out with salaries. So this year, we added one full-time arts and entertainment manager position. This is funded by our COVID relief money, and added about $90,000 to our salaries and benefits item. That was weird. There was a request from the Employees Association for a COLA, 4.2%. This was reviewed by both the Personnel Management Committee and the Finance Committee. It is included in the budget. Oops. We increased our part-time staffing hours based on an anticipated increase in our programs, events, and also our new arts and entertainment department. I think about $8,000 of that $50,000 is for arts and entertainment part-time help. And then there are also step increases for existing staff who are eligible, which is about $20,000. Our group insurance, our health insurance, vision, dental, and life insurance, we always assume a 5% increase. We don't have the CalPERS rates yet, but we will have those for final budget. This year we did add a benefited employee, which increased about $28,000 to our group insurance overall. Our workers' compensation, we are anticipating, but don't have yet, about a 25% increase. We will have that actual invoice before our final budget. That number is usually high for preliminary budget. It does tend to come down for final budget. So we will see. Our retirement costs, they've been going up each year because of our unfunded liability payment that we make each year, the lump sum payment that we make. This year, the payment for both the Classic members and the Pepper members is $96,000. So that increased our retirement costs overall by about $20,000. And then we are having an election this year. If it is a contested election, it will cost us about $24,000, but not really save that money. Additionally, for our services and supplies, we will see an increase of about $100,000 for our landscaping services contract. We are currently in the process of an RFP So we don't know the exact increase in cost, but our current provider indicated that our contract would go up $80,000 with them. So we're assuming between $80,000 and $100,000. And then our security services also increased their rates this year. So we added $40,000 to that contract as well. So here is a pie chart of our expenditures. You can see the majority of our funds go to salaries and benefits, about 50%, $2.2 million. Our operational costs, those are our services and supplies, is about 30%, $1.3 million. We approved a capital budget this year of $791,000, which is a little bit later on in the presentation. It includes a contingency of $50,000, and then our property taxes are about $10,000. Actually, this should be $4,000, not $10,000. And then I just wanted to point out that our total budget cost is about $4.5 million. The number that you see, the $3.7 million, actually is because we reduced the total budget amount by the amount that our assessment districts add to the budget. So we take $700,000 out, which reduces our overall cost to $3.7 million. So here is just a comparison year over year, the last 4 years, back to 1920. Our contingency has remained the same. Our capital improvements have been up and down, but that's normal. Our operational costs, you can see back in 2019-2020 were high. The last 2 years they've been lower because we're doing these programs or events. This year we're anticipating and planning on doing more, so those costs have gone up. And then our personnel costs did go up quite a bit this year, partly because we added a new position, partly because we added some part-time hours, partly because the cost of benefits has gone up each year. And so that is our expenditures. Do you guys have any questions or comments?
Budget and Personnel Committee, any comments?
I'd like to make a comment. I was concerned initially the high percentage of our budget that went to staffing. And Mike provided a good chart of maybe, I think it was the last 7 years or so, that showed we're actually a smaller percentage, slightly smaller percentage of our budget is staff now. And I thought that was pretty good until I started thinking about it. And then I realized back in the old days, we had a hefty capital program, and personnel costs were more like a third. About a third of the budget went to new capital projects, about a third went to other operating expenses, and a third to this. So while I was trying to figure out why that happened, and it's obvious because of the recession of 2008-9, we lost pretty much most of our capital program, and grants dried up, and that money, I think, got absorbed. What used to go to capital projects got absorbed by increasing personnel costs that we didn't really notice because we still had a balanced budget. So the challenge now is, after we spend the bond money, how do we restore a hefty capital program? We're going to have to look at economies, and we're going to have to look at the possibility of future other money, grants and other things. Otherwise, once the bond money is gone, we're not going to be able to afford pickleball courts and skate parks and other things like that. So that was a lesson for me. The figures are kind of misleading, because if you only look at post-recession, I'd like to see compared more to 2005, 2004 or something, to see when we did have a better program, what percentage. But that said, I think it's fair that we follow cost of living for our employees, and we just need to look at that future challenge and figure out whether the increased property taxes or grants can make up the difference.
I did go back, all the way back to 2001, 2002. You're right, up until, 2012, salaries and benefits were about 35-40% of the budget, and in
Yeah.
2011-12, it went up to 60%. And that is the time that we stopped having a capital budget because of recession, so.
Well,
Thank
but
you,
the
Jennifer.
district has changed in the last 20 years, last 22 years. And I would think that, Ralph, if you want a better comparison, what you ought to do is ask staff to look at other organizations similar in responsibility in terms of the proportion that goes to personnel versus service and supplies. I'm thinking that 60 to 70% is probably the norm. Years ago, Sac Metro's personnel budget was 90% of their entire district budget. So we're on the low end at 60%.
Well, the question for me is just, will we have the money in the future, given our revenues, will we have the money to continue to add facilities and things like that? I'm assuming that recreation programs kind of balance out, that the revenues balance with the cost. But we may not ever get back to 33 to 40% there, but we do need to increase our revenues somehow, either through efficiencies in whatever. One of the things I wanted to look at, I think we're spending $80,000 on the Pride contract right now,
Oh,
And we're-
it's actually 240,000.
240.
And it
What
will
was,
go up
yeah, so it's gonna go up by how much?
100,000.
100,000. So spending that much for mow and blow in the parks, which, I just wonder if we, and I suggested to Mike, maybe we look at a comparison between staffing up, getting the mowers and staffing up to do that ourselves. Could we not save some money? But that's just one idea, to look at all the costs we have and the contracts we put out on. Everything should get an analysis because, anyway, I've said my piece.
And I think, Mike, you're gonna be looking at that potential, correct?
Yeah, we currently are looking at that. We have a couple of ideas that may or may not pan out. We are going out to a bid again, so we may see some savings. I kind of doubt that. We're not hanging our hats on that. But we are looking at other options for the maintenance of our parks, including cleaning the bathrooms, which is another major component of park operations. So, and as we get these new facilities online, it's going to be more imperative as well, because the maintenance level is going to get different. And we cannot get by on the current maintenance level that we had in the past at Village Plaza Park with these new facilities. They're not going to be as cheap to maintain.
Do we include janitorial with our grounds maintenance?
We don't right now.
So we have separate janitorial. I mean, that's important. I've seen how quickly a restroom can get trashed by the public.
I had one question, the 25% workers' comp, what is that estimation factoring in?
It's based on, they give us a formula every year, and so I just plug in everybody's salaries. So because we have additional salaries, additional staff, it's tied to the total
Right.
payroll, so that's why. But it very rarely reaches the estimated amount.
Well, I assume our rate is very low.
Yes, we have had no incidences.
Right.
So.
That's good. Well, if no other questions from the board, I was going to open it up to public comment. That's fine. Does anybody have any public comments?
I do have,
Oh.
sorry.
I apologize.
That's okay. All right, so now we can talk about revenues, which is the better story. Our property taxes this year, as Director O'Farrell said, are 5.8%, almost 6%. That's a healthy increase for us. We usually see about 3 or 4. Our assessment district did see an increase of about 30,000 based on the 3% CPI for 2 of the 3. Our recreation revenues, we did budget an increase because they are adding back programs, they are adding back events, and we will hopefully have some new offerings through our arts and entertainment department. And then our facility rental revenues, we're anticipating an increase of about 11,000 because we have been renting our new facilities. I mean, they're just completely booked for the summer, so they're definitely.
Is that just the pavilions, or does that include McMillan Center?
It's everything. People are just renting everything.
And the library, is that getting any rentals?
Every once in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our cell tower revenues, there was no increase over last year because last year we received a one-time payment for our new contract. That's it for revenue. So this is our breakdown of revenues. The majority comes from our property taxes. We also get an FD amount now from our assessment districts. You all approved $791,000 for our capital. We are moving some money from our fund balance, which I'll talk about in a minute. We get miscellaneous revenue from interest and various other rebates and things like that. Our rec revenue here, $494. Our usage, oh, let me go back. Previous, okay. Usage money and property, that's our cell tower revenues, our facility rental revenues, and our intergovernmental revenue down here, this tiny little sliver, is our reimbursement from the state for property taxes. All right, so this is just a comparison year over year of our revenues. Most of them just tend to increase incrementally, property taxes, assessment districts, and then our more volatile revenue or recreation facility rentals, those are hopefully coming back to where they were back in 16, 17, 17, 18. This was the capital plan that you all approved back in April. The total from the general fund that was approved was $791,000. That was for some paving, ADA accessible equipment for events, because we've been doing our chicken festival at Fair Oaks Park, and I believe they're looking at some ways of making that more accessible. And then our preschool needs some ADA upgrading, so $410,000 was budgeted for that. When those projects, if those projects are done, we'll come back to you to talk about how they're going to be funded. All right, so our current fund balances, our reserve fund is still at $586,000. Our carry forward fund is at $760,000 right now. That will change at the end of this year. We have fund balances in all of our L&L districts, $76,000 in the large one, $13,000 in our Phoenix Field, and $36,000 in our Gum Ranch L&L. Our impact fees are at $1.4 million, and our in-lieu fees are a little over $300,000 for a total of $3.2 million in all of our funds. We added $50,000 to our OPEB trust this year, so total district contributions plus our investment returns is at $99,000 right now. I believe we had an 11% return. Yeah, that's quite a bit. Oops. Well, I wasn't. Let's talk about our fund balances for a minute. Oh, okay. So the large carry forward fund that you see here, some of that money will be moving out at the end of the year. So the money for Strang Park that we paid, 500 and something, that will bring that balance down to about 240,000.
Can we get it back up on the screen?
Oh, sorry. Okay, so that's okay. They wanted to see the whole thing again.
Rewind.
Okay, so the carry forward fund, this one right here, we're paying for Strang Park out of that. So 500 and something thousand is going to be taken out at the end of the year. Our reserve funds, 71,000 will be coming out of that to pay for the district office renovation. And then for next budget year, we're budgeting 50,000 out of the Fair Oaks L&L to pay for part of the cost of the increase of the landscape contract. So total, that will bring our total fund balances down to about 2.6 million, which is still so that was revenue and fund balances.
Okay.
So, just a couple of questions, if I may.
Please.
Our retirement unfunded, did we contribute anything to that this year?
50,000.
50,000.
Yes.
I guess I'm looking at the wrong line on here. What's unfunded GHS?
Oh, I'm not
In
sure.
your final spreadsheet. Well, anyway, that's a good answer on that.
Okay.
So, and can you tell me, I don't always interpret the expenditures and the revenues right, but what's the loss on the chicken festival?
Is it
20,000 a year?
I think the last couple of years it's been less, but I would have to go back and look, I can find that out.
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing to look at. And then, just a general question, we're doing capital improvements at the preschool, and we're doing, projects within the assessment district. Take the preschool, for example. Is it paying for itself when you consider the improvements we have to put in, or is it just paying for itself in signups?
I know Chelsea's on here, and she can correct me or add whatever I'm missing here. But it is covering the cost of the staff, of the operations itself. The capital, I believe it is not covering that. Now, it makes a little bit more than the actual operating cost, so in some sense it's subsidized, not as much.
Yeah, and I'm not criticizing, I think the preschool's a wonderful
Yeah.
thing. I just wanted to know if what we put into the capital facility there, presumably it's improving our assets.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and the ADA funds, so every time someone signs up for a program, a certain portion of that goes into a special ADA fund for ADA improvements. There's not a ton of money in there, there's like 50,000 right now, but that is what that money is for.
And we will use that money at the preschool where we have other funding for the clubhouse ADA. We're looking for a third-party source for the ADA work that we'll be doing in Village Plaza Park. That's about $4.2 million. So we have a line for two different options on that one right now. I don't know if we'll get those funded, the 4.2 million, but we do have the $500,000 in the clubhouse fund.
My last question had to do with the assessment districts. I'm aware that all the money we get from those assessment districts has to be put back in the parks within their jurisdiction there. But do we spend all that and then subsidize that with more money, or are the assessment districts covering their own costs there?
We spend general fund money on all of the.
Is it mostly for the ground maintenance stuff?
Yes.
Do we leave any money untapped from the assessment districts that we could put towards that? I guess it all comes out in the wash at the end.
Yeah. There's a small fund.
Yeah, an example, we bought a chipper and we prepared a percentage for each of the parts plus the overall. And so every one of the assessment districts paid for that chipper in different parts, different funds. So, thank you.
I have a comment, Chair, please. Just out of curiosity, when was the last time we put any money, significant money, into the preschool?
Maybe they did the outside stuff,
Yeah, that's before I got here.
there's a little bit of Measure J money.
Some Measure J money. We did the park in place 2 years ago on the playground. So the playground improvements just a couple years ago. And then part of the parking lot may be under Measure J, depending on how you all want to do things and how much money you have in Measure J.
But other than that, nothing.
For the benefit of the whole board, it would be when you have time to isolate each of our facilities and kind of go back and do a recap. Okay, the community center has had this much money going into it over time. The Millen Center probably has had something less than this. We've done some improvements on the admin building. So, and this will be helpful to all of us, and that way, when questions come up like this, that we will all have the same information.
Great, okay. If I may, I'll open it up now to public comment on this item. Does anybody wish to speak on this item, either online or in person? Okay, can we close public comment then? And any further discussion between board members? Okay, great. Then I will take a motion.
I will make the motion to approve the staff recommendation, if I can read it, of approving the 2022-23 preliminary budget as outlined in attachment A, and adopt resolution 061522-02 adopting the fiscal year 22-23 preliminary budget for the general fund, shown in attachment A. And secondly, approve the district's 22-23 preliminary budgets for the assessment districts as follows. Adopt resolution 06-1522-03, adopting the 22-23 preliminary budget for the Parks Maintenance and Recreation Improvement District with expenditures and revenues totaling $584,845, as shown in attachment B. And also adopt resolution 06-1522-04, adopting fiscal year 22-23 preliminary budget for the Phoenix Landscape and Lighting Assessment District with expenditures and revenues totaling $56,460, as shown in attachment E. And adopt resolution 06-1522-05, adopting fiscal year 22-23 preliminary budget for the Gum Ranch Landscape and Lighting Assessment District with expenditures and revenues totaling $67,938, as shown in attachment F. And finally, adopt the fiscal year 22-23 salary schedule, which includes a 4.2% COLA as requested by the Employees Association and recommended by the Management and Personnel Committee and the Finance and Budget Committee.
Moved, do I have a second? Moved and seconded, all those in favor? Aye. Motion carries, wonderful. 8.4, please.
Right, so me. Once again, Jennifer Larkin, Administrative Services Manager. This is the bond budget, which is Fund 341C. This one is much simpler. Hold on, it's very ugly spreadsheet. So this year, bond projects and associated services and supplies total $22,150,500. So the items that are in the services and supplies, we budgeted $10,000 total to do a mailing or two, we're not sure yet, on items that are being constructed and information to the public on how the money is being spent. And then we're also budgeting $10,000 in legal. That's about what we've spent this year, I think. It'll probably be about the same for next year. We budgeted $25,000 in other professional services. That has been kind of the things that are not included in the construction projects, but we still need to spend money on, such as notary services and plan copies and things like that. And then data processing services, we're paying for iCityWorks, which is $1,000, which allows people to go online and view all the projects that are being worked on. And finally, $4,500 for the auditor to do the bond audit. And then for capital, which is where the bulk of the money is being spent, we budgeted the $20 million that you approved for the build and remodel. We budgeted the $1.6 million for the Phoenix parking paving project. And then $500,000 for furnishings and equipment for the new amphitheater. The grand total again is $22,150,500. Changes from last year, we did not budget any money in the salaries and benefits because we just haven't been reimbursing ourselves for that. It's just more work to do that than to just.
So under professional services, do we anticipate the architects may have to make, do we have to pay them for any more, like change orders or anything like that?
Those are based on the bid, so that money's already there if we need to, so it should be under that contingency already into the budget for that project.
We just found ourselves, we didn't budget any money in there last year, and we found ourselves having to move some money this year, so we just put some money there.
It always come out of contingencies.
Exactly.
And the revenue, we still have to release a third series of bonds in order to have all the revenue to pay for this, which we're anticipating probably the end of this year, beginning of next year maybe.
Percentage go down, do you think? When we release this next one? or-
Boy, I don't know.
It's a game to try to figure out the best time to do it.
Stocks
Okay.
are going down, bonds are going to go up.
Do any board directors have any questions on that budget? I don't. My only question was on the furnishings, the FF&E, that was 200,000? 500,000, okay, 500,000. Okay. So where did that number come from them? Where did that number come from?
That came just as a ballpark estimate from our landscape architects, or our architects.
Okay, so the architects did.
Yeah, and it's probably a soft number, because we're working on it now on risers for the Black Box Theater. I was working on that this morning, and seating for inside the Black Box Theater. Recognizing how much that's going to cost, I think that's a little soft. I'm looking for outside funding right now for those. And so we believe that we're going to have to use some outside funding to really furnish this thing up to the level we believe it needs to be furnished at.
Well, I mean, we chose a lot of, didn't we
did.
choose a lot of these things?
We
Like
chose the
literally
doors.
2
I
years
remember
ago.
choosing
We chose the
You chose doors,
My
tiles,
doors won.
windows, and you chose the structural pieces of it, the decorative pieces, or the more ornament
Okay.
pieces, but not the chairs, not the other things like that.
Sounds good.
That's still coming.
So I have a question for you, it's been on my mind for a while. When we did the master plan for the theater, before we had the bond, the theater festival was raising money every summer with Eucharist and minstrels. Is there any indication from Barbara or anybody whether they will contribute any of those funds towards anything in the future? And I know
Yeah.
that's tied to whatever arrangement we make for use too.
Yeah, in Prop 68 money, we did put that in our application for our Prop 68 money, which we'll be using for Village Plaza Park and some of the work there, that they are a partner, additional partner in it. I don't have that figure. I want to say it was about 30 grand, but I could be off on that figure. But yes, they had committed, and we have a letter of commitment from them when we applied for the grant. So what they'll pay for, I don't know.
Okay, wonderful. Then I will open it up to public comment. If anybody wishes to speak on this, sir, feel free.
Well, can I ask a question rather than a comment? What is the paving that you're doing at Phoenix Field? What are you talking about?
I'll allow staff to answer.
So the priority project for paving over at Phoenix has been the gravel parking lot right next to the gardens there. We estimate that you can park kind of disorganized in there and get about 40 or 50 spots. Through the early planning we've done, looks like we can get over 100 spots in there if we pave it and line it, do the thing right.
Right.
We can get about 100 spots.
Can I ask another question? You know that area that you planed off over there that's now a weed field? Is there any thought to making parking there?
There's been discussions about the temporary parking there. As we talked earlier about the master plan, that's the largest open space that we have in that park. It's actually the largest open space we have available anywhere.
Yeah.
So it is going to be addressed in the overall master plan for what that could or could not be potentially. So.
Yeah, the only reason I brought it up is because I go over there and when the baseball people are there, you can't find parking anywhere, hardly. And I thought that having the narrow streets leading into the park also creates a kind of a bind because people park on the side and it's very hard to get through there. It's kind of a little dangerous for the kids. So I know you put the trees right next to the road, so you don't want to destroy those beautiful trees, but I kind of thought it would be good if they widened that a little bit. And then I thought, well, you could throw some gravel up there on that top thing and get some more parking, you know what I mean, as an idea. But I also think you guys need to build a spot there for yourself to put your tractors and storage stuff.
Thank you so much. Does anybody else, do we have any other comment on this? Okay, wonderful. Closing public comment, I will entertain a motion.
Move to approve the fiscal year 2022-2023 bond fund 341C preliminary budget, and also approve the preliminary bond budget for the resolution numbers 061-522-06, approving the preliminary budget for fiscal year 2022-2023.
Motion moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Wonderful.
I'll pick the easy one.
8.5, please.
Alright, that's me again, hello. All right, this item is the adoption of the resolutions for our 3 assessment districts for your intention to levy the assessments and to approve the engineer's reports, the preliminary engineer reports. So each year, you as a board need to adopt a resolution stating that you intend to levy the assessments for the next tax year. We currently have 3 assessment districts. We have the overlay district, Fair Oaks Parks Maintenance and Recreation Improvement District, or as we call it, FOLL, Phoenix Field, and Fountain Ranch. And by adopting these 3 resolutions, you will allow us to put on the tax rolls the assessments for 2022-2023, which are $42.68 for the overlay district, FOLL. That's for $100,000. For Fountain Ranch, it's $235.76 in Zone A and $391.30 in Zone B. And then Phoenix Field, does not change, it's $164.58 per single family unit.
So the first 2 are based on assessed value, 100,000, that fee is against each 100,000. And the Phoenix Field is just a flat fee.
That is correct.
Well,
Is that it? Is that it, Jen? Okay. Any questions for staff? No? Okay, then I'll open it up to public comment. Do we have any public comment on this agenda item? Hearing none, closing public comment. Final consideration from directors. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to go ahead and adopt resolution 06152207, 06152208, 0615515209.
And I will second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
very efficient.
Yes, I love it. 8.6, please.
All right, well, rounding out the evening, we're going to proclaim July as Parks and Recreation Month. The National Parks and Recreation Association, NRPA, has proclaimed the month of July as National Parks and Recreation Month since 1985. Each year we come to you with a resolution asking you to adopt it and join the fun bandwagon of Parks and Recreation Month for July.
Let's consider this one really carefully.
Okay. Any questions? None. Audience, any public comment? None. I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 061522-10. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Fantastic. Wonderful. Okay. Then we'll move on to board staff reports. Director O'Farrell?
None.
None. Director Mouse?
I just said, I was just wondering what the status was on that pickleball and skate park.
At this point in time, we've held off any work on that because of the budget with Village Plaza Park and La Vista being, and the parking lot in Phoenix being those 3 priorities. Then seeing how much money might become available. If we get that funding for the ADA improvements in Village Plaza Park, that $4.2 million, then that money hopefully could be shifted to other projects that might include pickleball and the skate park. But at this point in time, we haven't worked on it at all.
And I think Director Carter and I have met virtually with Mike, just kind of when we were going through the budget, kind of talking about priorities. And I do think that when money's coming, I think it will be important for us to just kind of look at all the different projects to see what we feel at that moment is the priority. You know, we think it's doing a parking lot, or is it getting pickleball or whatnot? So I just want to make sure we're all aware of that.
I just remember we were had a lot of talks, and it seemed like
Momentum.
things were moving and it sort of fell off the radar, so.
Last month, we had someone come talk to us about the property line adjustment at Gum Ranch, and I was wondering when we would be hearing back from them. Are you anticipating that that'll be something we'll see again next month as an agenda item, or?
Yeah, I have it down in the updates, but I'll share it now with you. I need to meet with the neighbors. The main instigator for that has been out of town, and we just heard back from her today. But I need to meet with them to find out the space that we're really looking at, and then get that assessment, or the appraisal on that, because that's what you had all asked for, on the appraisal of that. So I need to know the space so I can get the appraisal. So that's what Hopefully next
I
month.
got another call from Mrs. Smith today, actually 2 calls. One I told you about, and then a follow-up later. And they're proposing to hire and pay for both the appraisal and the engineer, subject to Park District approval of what they do, and just handle the payments directly to make it simple.
That would make it a lot simpler, but we definitely have to talk about the space. That's the
Yeah.
one piece that we have to come to the consensus on.
Yeah, and of course, they really want 20 feet, and I'd like the money off the 20 feet.
Yeah, and maybe something.
Maybe it'll pay for a pickleball court or something.
Gravel pickleball.
Okay, Director Carr.
Yeah, by the way, I go over frequently to Gum Ranch Park and Madison Place Park, and I have to report that it's heavily used. It seems like a fair amount of people are not from the Gum Ranch development, but that's okay. The kids have really been enjoying the splash pond. I was wondering where all that water goes when it doesn't get recycled, does it? But it is very, very efficient and everything. And the facilities are getting great use, even Madison Place Park, people out playing on the lawn and stuff. So our parks are getting good use.
Great. H1 great. Run was awesome. The Mississippi run was really great. I ran it, had a good time. Staff did an amazing job. It was a lot of fun. You guys got to run. We got to do a team next year.
Oh, well, yeah, so,
It'll be fun.
They'll like it.
We might be in shape by then.
Okay. I think that's it from us. Staff, please.
Sean, did you have anything?
Sean.
Yeah, good evening, Board of Directors. Sean Ventura, Park and Facilities Manager. Just wanted to give you a quick update on irrigation here now that things are heating up. You may have noticed, I'm sure Director Carhart has with his time over at Gum Ranch, that some of our parks were getting hit pretty hard by the heat, and we were getting some wilting and getting some browning. It is mostly just a fault in our equipment for Gum Ranch Park and Phoenix Park. If you've been by there, it's looking a little sad. Our new controllers at Phoenix Park are recognizing a lot more delicate, nuanced problems with the older equipment that they're attached to. Case in point, those front 2 soccer fields there are browning out a little bit because the new controllers recognized a short that was previously unrecognized in the meter there that controls those fields. So it is shutting down each night. We are watering it manually to get it back, and we have parts ordered to make the repair on that. We're confident over the next couple of weeks that we'll start seeing greening up, but not too much so as we still kind of lead the way in saving water in the community. Gum Ranch, we ran into an error in the installation of the master valve where it was wired incorrectly, which was causing all stations to turn on for only about 10 seconds at a time and then shut back down. That has been fixed. Things are greening up out there. The rest of our parks are looking very nice. I encourage you to head out and take a look at some of them because my crew has been working very, very hard on this, and just wanted to say at Gum Ranch and Phoenix Park, look forward to some decent results very soon. I will also touch on the shade structures at Phoenix Park, at the dog park and the bike park. I'm very close to getting those in the ground. I'm waiting for one final round of revisions on the plans to satisfy the county requirements. Waiting on those. As soon as I get them, I'm fairly confident that we should see approval, and then the shade structures going into the ground before it gets to the high heat of summer. I will knock on wood as far as county approvals go, but it's looking pretty good. And that's it.
Sean, I've noticed the grass at Gum has greened up really nice, so good work.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else?
Jen?
I don't.
I've got a few things here. I want to give you a quick update on the construction over at Village Plaza Park. As of today at 3 o'clock, the fence is scheduled to go up on June 20th. Everything's still looking very promising for that to happen, so that we shut the park down then for 18 months. And if there's any changes, I will let you know via email, but at this point in time, we're looking at June 20th. I am giving an update to at the Chamber of Commerce luncheon tomorrow. I will be discussing the challenges that we faced over the last 2 years, as well as what to expect here in the future. And I think they sold out when they saw the agenda, so they would have an
Mike,
opportunity
the
to
perimeter
talk about this.
fence, is that gonna basically follow the, is the parking gonna be available?
Good question. Yes, it'll stay outside the nose-in parking. So
Okay.
the nose-in parking will still be available around the park. The parallel parking that we have, any parallel parking that we have will be available as well. The clubhouse parking lot itself will be available for a while. I don't have a time frame on that when we have to move the fence back out. At some point in time, we will have to move that fence, and then it will be shut down until completion. So we're keeping that front lot as open as long as we possibly can. And then we will be closing it.
So all that goes in parking on Park, on California and everything, and on Carroll Boulevard, that'll all be outside the fence. And then the parallel parking along California will still be accessible.
Yeah, and let me be clear on that too. There'll be times when some of that will be closed. As we do curb work, sidewalk work, we're repaving the streets, remember? So that's obviously a time when those will be closed as well. So that's down the road a ways. As those timeframes get more stable, I'll let you know when that's going to happen. But at this point in time, that's the parking plan for the near future.
And you've rented the adjacent parking there?
At this point in time, I have not rented the parking for the workers. I do have an option to rent some parking for them, so they will not impact the village parking. During this time, they are able to park on site. But eventually that will not be available for them to park inside the fence.
And then we'll be prepared to.
We're prepared to give them parking that will not impact the village negatively.
Have all of the different stores, offices, people in the village, have they been notified?
They have not been notified yet. We have that chamber meeting tomorrow, and then after that, we'll start doing the presentation. I want to be certain, 100% certain, that we're putting that fence up on June 20th. I do not want to tell them we're putting the fence up on June 20th, and then it's not going up until the 30th or something. It's like, that's a very bad thing. They already don't trust me.
When we did the original chicken festival, we flyered every business to tell them what to expect. I wonder if we might want to do something like that, flyer.
Yeah, we're doing as much outreach as we can personally as well. Like I said, I'm hoping to hit as many as possible tomorrow with this update. So, give them that. Right now today, this afternoon, we had our bird biologist out there. That was a new twist on us that came up, not necessarily the 11th hour, but probably the 12th hour. It was just the other day that we heard we had to have a bird biologist and a nesting study done. We got that thing pulled off in a matter of 12 hours, and they are out there doing that. We'll hear the report probably tomorrow and see what else we would have to mitigate, if we have to do any mitigation.
Does that include nesting chickens?
That I asked the bird biologist, and he laughed at me. So, the Vista update, the agreement is done with the attorneys. I am working on the attachments that are required for that, which include the survey of the property. The school district does not have a survey of the property. I had just checked with them, and I heard yesterday that they do not. So we are now starting to instigate getting a survey done for that property. We'll get those attachments done. There's 3 other attachments which we already have the information for. So the survey is the big one. The San Juan Unified School District Board will not meet now until late August, so that'll be the next meeting that we have. We'll be hopefully getting that agreement over to the school board for their approval, and then coming over to you probably September.
So Mike, will that agreement, does that include use of the existing restrooms that you have?
That building is incorporated into the overall use agreement, correct? So, and there's some renovation required in that building before it's used. We're not going to be able to just open it up. So, because it doesn't have any ADA accessibility at this point. And I mentioned the Land and Water Conservation Fund. That is our approach that we'll be investigating and trying hard to get for the additional funding for those fields, including the renovation of the bathroom.
So we still plan a children's play area there?
With that outreach, I would suspect that we're gonna see desire, but from the neighborhood for some kind of amenity like that. The Gum Ranch property we've talked about already. I want to give a quick update on the jobs opening for the arts and entertainment. And I want to give kudos to staff for picking Bamboo HR for this. I've never used it before in a job application. I just got updated a couple minutes ago on a new applicant that came in. We're able to rate them immediately, able to put them in pools, and have a discussion online with all the other staff that's seeing these applications. So we're all on the same page prior to even offering interviews to these people. It's just a marvelous system. We have 20 candidates as of just a few minutes ago. We have some incredible candidates. I'm just ecstatic over what I'm seeing. And it closes Friday, and then we'll be doing the interviews the week of July 11th. So we send out notifications to those candidates that were selected for interviews, and we'll start the interview process. They are some great candidates.
So what committee will that go through?
That is not at this point in time, not a committee action. Maybe something is, yeah. The board doesn't hire the staff, so. If there's some changes in that, or if you feel you want some changes in that, let me know, please. Okay. The Nexus study, you have not heard anything on the Nexus study. We started that 2 years ago, if you recall. That's for our impact fees, the relationship to the impact fees to the product. That's been 2 years in the making. It has been a very long project. On June 7th, I went to the Board of Supervisors meeting, and hopefully it was going to be passed. It has now been delayed again. It's probably the 4th time it's been delayed. The Building Industry Association, I believe it is a BIA, has challenged it, parts of it, and the Board of Supervisors is having the county staff review it. Our Nexus study is being done with, I believe it's 5 other parks districts for economy of scale. And so the Board of Supervisors is working through their political pieces of this. And I don't have a time frame for the Nexus study, but I just wanted to give you a heads up that we're continuing to work on this thing. It's 2 years in the making. I'm hoping that we get this thing done at some point. For us, the Nexus study is done. It has not been approved. And when we looked at the draft, it really doesn't change anything for us. We're not impacted negatively by the new study. It actually just retains what we currently are receiving for new housing. The big thing there that the BIA is challenging is some of the infill stuff. And infill is hard. It's expensive, and as you build a house and you have these fees, it adds to the cost of the housing for the infills. So I understand their concerns, and I understand the supervisor's concerns in trying to make affordable housing. And they hopefully understand that those types of impacts and those additional folks moving into our community, we have to serve them, and the impact fees help us moderately in that additional service that we have to provide for them. So we're hoping to have it passed with the level of service that we currently have in our Nexus study.
So we've been receiving the monies to date.
We'll continue to receive the amount that we currently get until the study is passed or sent back, whichever way. It doesn't change anything really for us, but we are required by statute to finish it every 5 years. And so, but we have done our part.
Do you recall what the amount was last year?
It seems substantial. I don't have.
7.
Yeah, I don't have it off the top of my head.
Okay, well, it seems, what's going on?
So that's my update.
Okay.
Thank you.
Lots of stuff.
Well, I will make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion adjourned. Or meeting adjourned.
Nice job, sir.